Well, hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to the Reforming Nerdom podcast. I am your host, Jordan Cecile, and I am joined today, as is often the case, by the one and only P. Nate, a.k.a. Pastor Nate, a.k.a. Nathaniel P. Wright. Nate, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this conversation. And in my office, it's dark and dreary outside, but cheerful in our little studio.
That is good, good. And we are joined by friend of the show, by the one and the only host of the Iron Sharpens Iron podcast and the Rebel podcast, the one and only Christopher Pootie Pooterson. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Feel like there's a little Rebel reunion here, eh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Your
A
old
little bit.
podcast.
And you know what? We're talking about books today. So that's something that we have done enough of on when we're on the Rebel podcast. So Chris, thank you for joining us. And listeners, we have Chris here because we are today talking about a book that has kind of taken over our church. I mean, I feel like if you're a faithful listener, you're going to be like, okay, what is it now? What book is it now? There's always a book, it seems, at our church, which is awesome because it's true. And it is The Will of the Many. But before we even start getting into that, I just very quickly, thinking about last week's episode, Nate and I went on our nice little nerdy baseball rant talking about the Blue Jays. And I just want to say, Dodgers lost. That is for
3-2
baseball
going
fans
home,
out there.
baby.
Oh, man. I was so happy last night. That was so glorious watching that. First pitch of the game, third pitch of the game, 2 dingers. And just
Savage
watching that
was
entire
savage.
place, yes, deflated
Yeah.
right off the first pitch of the game. It was just like, you're done. You're like, the life was sucked out of them. And then, like our boy, Savage, like setting records all over the place. 22 years old. What a guy. What a
Unbelievable.
stud. Like this is like one of the craziest things in sporting history to see a kid do this quickly in his career. It's nuts.
Yeah. Like
So, Chris-
first few starts, like less than half a dozen starts in the major leagues, and like the high leverage games, pitching a gem like that in the World Series to give us the lead in Dodger Stadium. It's unbelievable.
Like he literally made Shohei Ohtani fall over with his splitter to strike him out.
Oh,
Like one of
it
the
was
greatest,
just beautiful.
one of the greatest like pictures you're ever going to see. Chris, have you been following the ball? I know you're a soccer guy and a football guy, but are you watching the ball?
Yeah, I'm a Jays fan, so
Okay.
I've been paying attention. But I've learned because of many heartbreaks of being a Bills fan, Michigan fan, I don't speak till it's over.
know.
So
No, and that's
right now, it's
yeah.
anybody's game.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it is true because I mean, at the end of the day, it is still the Dodgers. Like they have all their pitchers, especially in these last 2 games. It's all hands on deck. Like
Yeah.
the Dodgers' problem in the postseason has been their bullpen, and that is not a problem now because you have all of their starting rotation that will be in the bullpen. Like
Yeah,
Yamamoto will just pitch both games if he has to, like, and he may very well do that because
He
he's just
might,
crazy.
yeah.
Those Japanese guys just can pitch like 300 pitches in a game and still be fine, and then go play in the outfield the next day. It's so yeah, no, it is far from over. But who would have ever predicted Game 6 in Toronto they could go home with the World Series? I did not see that happening.
are 6 and 7 in Toronto?
They are.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's
Great. They had home field, which is just bananas. Like the fact that they actually had that 1-game lead going in over them. It was. Anyways, listeners, I hope you're enjoying it. It's been fun for us. I mean, we haven't been able to, unfortunately, do like a watch party. It just hasn't really worked out. The nights are kind of bad often, and starting at 8:00 on a weeknight.
That's the hard thing. Like I'm
Right?
feeling super tired just because I've been up way later than normal for all of these games. I didn't stay up for the 18-inning marathon. I went to bed at like normal time, but normal time, like the games are going till like 11:30.
I did watch all 18 innings.
I know you did.
And that was rough because I then, not only did the game end at like 3:00, I then stewed in bed for an hour as I was just so upset that I just stayed up till 3:00 watching a team lose. Wasn't even worth it. It was just, no. But anyways, it was still fun. Hey, it's playoff baseball. Playoff baseball. Like I don't know what I'm going to do with my time once playoff ball's done. because we've just had it on every night. Like it's been constantly, we've been watching ball. But anyways,
Maybe
looking
you'll catch
forward.
up in some more of your reading, Jordan.
You know what? I think so, Chris, because there's another series that I'm really wanting to get back to, but we're not going to talk about that. Maybe another time, because Chris, I know you're really into the Sun Eater. What is it? The Saga? Is that what it is? The Sun Eater
Yeah,
Saga,
the
or is
Sun
it
Eater saga.
like that's a really cool book, and I take pride in that because that's the first book that I recommended to you that now you really love. So I take
That is true.
I take pride in that.
Yeah. Did I recommend The Will of the Many to you?
You did.
Champion. Hey,
So no, you win. You win.
like
No,
this.
there's no, because listeners, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about The Will of the Many. This is a book by author James Islington, Christian brother, which is really cool. He's a Reformed Presbyterian, at least from my understanding, from what I've been able to find. There was like a Reddit Q&A thing that he did, and he said he's a Reformed Presbyterian. So it's like, cool, my man, my boy. He's out here doing the Lord's work, writing really cool stories. So this is a fantasy fiction series called The Hierarchy. So what I'm gonna do is just do a quick plot summary, and you guys, as I'm going or when we're done, you can fill in any of the blanks. So what I want to do for the first part of the episode is, while we have Nate here, Nate, you are not quite done. We were hoping you could be done for this, but you
I
couldn't
know.
quite get there.
I
But that's
know.
okay.
I got like 3.5 hours left in the audiobook, which is like, I don't know, a
That
few
flies
chapters.
by. Yeah,
I
that lasts
know, I
like
know.
little bit.
All
That
I really
100
want to be
pages,
doing right
man.
now is reading. Like, this is a
Yes.
sacrifice. Coming and talking to you guys,
I'm
as much as
sorry.
I enjoy it, is a sacrifice.
Yeah. No, because it's I've heard from people, a couple people have said, it starts a little slow, and it's like, yeah, I can see that, but it's like it really ramps up. I find, anyways, we can talk about pacing and stuff like that as we go through. So we're gonna talk about general thoughts of the book, kind of the characters, the world, the writing, those kind of things. Nate, you being a literature guy, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about the perspective of the main character and all that. And then what we're gonna do is Chris and I, in the second part of the episode, we are just going to go full spoilers. So, listeners, be warned. If you are interested in this book, which you should be, and if you have not read it, stop it when I give you a very clear spoilers coming, abandon, abort, just leave, unless you want to have the entire thing spoiled. And I promise you, this has some twists and turns, and like the payoff in this book is something else. So it's like, I just do it for us. Do it for me. Don't ruin don't ruin it because it's so good. So anyways, you've been warned. Chris and I are going to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about our predictions for book 2, which comes out in 12 days? Yeah, November 11th. 12 days. So, it's coming out real soon. First chapter, Chris, have you read it? I read the first chapter.
No, I don't want to go. I want to go in completely cold. So
So now I have to be careful with you because I have read the first chapter.
well, you're gonna only spoil the first chapter, so it's fine.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about the book. So yeah, the Will of the Many. Here's a plot summary for those who don't know what this is about. At the heart of the Will of the Many, James Islington introduces readers to the Catenan Republic, a sprawling Roman-inspired empire built upon a rigid social order known as the hierarchy. In this world, every citizen must eventually surrender their will, their personal strength, drive, and vitality to empower those above them. The result is a society where the few grow unimaginably powerful and the many live in service to them. Into this system steps Viz Telemus, a young man who claims to be an orphan, blessed by fortune and intellect, newly accepted into the Empire's most prestigious institution, the Katenin Academy. There, the future leaders of the Republic are trained to master politics, warfare, and control of will. To survive, Viz must play his role perfectly, smile, make allies, and rise through the ranks. But Viz's story is built on lies. His true purpose is far more dangerous. He comes to the Academy to solve a murder, to search for an ancient weapon, and to uncover the dark truths that could shatter the Republic itself. For beneath his calm exterior burns a secret vow. He will never surrender his will to the empire that executed his family. As intrigue builds within the marble halls of the Academy, Viz must balance deception and loyalty, survival and rebellion, all while concealing the one thing that could doom him if he is discovered, his true identity. With its mix of mystery, political tension, and moral complexity, The Will of the Many is a grand beginning to a new fantasy saga, a story of hidden legacies, rising power, and the cost of standing against an empire built on control. Whew.
Sounds great.
A lot of that, most of that is from the back of the book. So listeners, there's no spoilers. He's telling you that right from the get go. Read the back of the book or the overview. But that has some other stuff in there as well. But anyway, so that is The Will of the Many. Now, Chris, you are, I will say, our resident book expert. You read more than anybody I know, and you have read far more fantasy fiction than anybody I know. What is it? I guess your thoughts about The Will of the Many.
I loved it. I think we talked about this off air once. In terms of a fantasy series, book one, this is a top 5 book one of a series ever. In my opinion, it's not a perfect book. It's not. There are things like you mentioned pacing. There's a little things like nothing's original in terms of the like. It like school setting, like you know, murdered parents. Like it's nothing. There's nothing overly new, but he pulls all of those aspects off perfectly. If I can be that way, and then just on a kind of a separate note, like what I think the tone of the book and the intrigue of the world is so unique that it grips me. It's like a sci-fi Roman Empire,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
like just such a brilliant setting that I'm just like
Yeah.
from page one, I'm hooked into the world right away. And the title is fantastic. I'll be honest, like his titles in even in his other books, like Canis trilogy, his titles are next level, which kind of grips me right away because I'm like, I need to know what the Will of the Many is. But the book is fantastic. And then I would say, like, the other thing I would say that makes it, without talking about the plot at all, is um, like this book, his previous series, you can read this and then I would have no problems telling people in my church, pick this book up and read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's clean, it's pure, it's, you know, wholesome. There's a scene, I know Nate's seen that, but there's a scene with a young lady in it where you're just like, oh, if this was almost every other publisher right now, this is where this goes into a place that I'm not comfortable. And it
Yep.
doesn't. And I'm like,
Yep.
that's delightful. It's awesome. My kids could read this. Like, oh, I don't like my nieces and my nephews, I guess, could read it. Right. So, I love it. I love the book. I love everything about it. And I also say like, for anybody who hasn't read his first series, his improvement just as his as a writer, his prose, which is like how you write, is wonderful. It's very easy to read. It's not like long exposition dumps of like describing a tree or anything like that, like the Wheel of Time is.
Oh my word.
Or
Yeah.
or there's not weird languages, not weird things. Like he explains a very complex system very quickly. And I would say like for fantasy guys, magic systems are always a big part. Like Brandon Sanderson is famous for good magic systems. The a template and the magic system in this is fascinating. Like, and
Yeah.
I love the idea of it. So that's kind of my like no spoiler kind of like plug why you should read it. But
Yeah. Nate, what about you?
Yeah, I would agree with all that. I think the world he builds is really cool. The magic system. So the idea that, and I think we can get into this, isn't super spoilers. You get this pretty early on. Is so the whole idea is it's the hierarchy, right? So Tenant society is built on a hierarchy, and so the idea is that you can seed your will, seed like CEDE, seed your will to other people, your life force, your energy, your strength. You can seed it to other people. And so the idea is if you want to be a part of contented society, you have to seed your will to people who are higher than you. So there's common people called Octavi, and they seed their will up to Septimus and Sexty, and all these various hierarchical ranks are all based on how much will they're receiving from other people. And so that will makes them more intelligent, faster, stronger, the ability to kind of almost use will to imbue other objects, which means like almost using like telekinesis. So that's the magic system. And so the idea here is that like the Roman Empire, right, that expanded contingent society is like conquered these other nations. And that's what you learn about Vis, the main character right off the bat, is that he's from one of these conquered nations. And so that's why he hates the hierarchy. But as they conquer other nations, they bring more and more people into, this idea of seeding will. Anybody who doesn't want to seed will and doesn't want to become a part of the hierarchy are put in what they're called sappers that drains your life force to give to the people up the hierarchical chain. So it's a really neat system that way. It's a cool way of writing about tyranny, and teaching things about like unjust societies in a way that's also creating a world and a magic system and everything. So I find all that stuff, it was just really, really fascinating. I feel like I could read a fan book on the mathematics of imbuing will and I would still be interested. Like, you know what I mean? It's just
Yes.
such a cool system. Um, and then I would just say, so, and maybe this is because I'm just coming off the Stormlight Archives. I'm really enjoying the first person narrative. The fact that he writes in first person, so you get everything from the main character Vis's perspective, which I find fascinating. Chris and I were just talking about this the other day when he was asking me where I am in the book and how I'm enjoying it. Um, the idea that Vis is actually sort of an unreliable narrator, that he gets things wrong, that you're getting everything through his tinted glasses, so to speak. So there are certain things he thinks he knows for sure that he doesn't. And also, like, because you get to know him from his first person perspective, the whole book starts off with this sort of like, he's this protege, he's so intelligent, he's so perceptive, he's better than everybody else around him kind of thing. But then as the various plot points and mystery threads pull together, you realize everybody around him is a few steps ahead. Everybody around him is just as intelligent. He's actually in way over his head. And even though he is this, 17-year-old protege, he's in a world of men and women who are just as smart, but also far full of will and also, older than him and kind of, so it's a really cool. And then there's like, because there's a sort of rebel alliance in this, right? The Anguists who are fighting against the hierarchy, and there's this cool tension of like, how do you fight tyranny? Is it do the ends justify the means? Like, can you resist the evil empire by using the same wicked tools like seeding will? It's just a really interesting, and then even the governance of this system, right? So the whole Katenan society is built on the three pyramids, the three pillars: religion, governance, and military. And so the idea is like all three of these pillars are what bring up society. And so they have to work together, even though they're kind of competing. It's just a really cool world. And it's world building in a really neat way where it doesn't go so in depth like Tolkien does, where have to learn different languages to really understand it. But it goes into such a, it's just a really neat, I'm pulled into the world. Like if there were spin-off books in this world, I would
Yeah.
read them. It's just cool that way.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I really loved about it immediately was I often have a hard time with reading fantasy books in visualizing the world. And it's like in Stormlight, where it's like immediate you're like, oh, a spren and a chull. It's like I don't know what either of those things are, but he kind of describes it, but it's like I have no okay, is it like a big
Yeah.
lobster, I guess? And sure, like like
What's creme?
yeah,
What's
yeah. And so it's just like this place is like, oh, I can immediately just picture this is ancient Rome with flying and like some mechanization of some kind. It's like, oh, cool, sweet. I don't even have to think about it. I'm just like I'm just there. And yeah, I think the thing that really blew me away with it, and I think I've never read Lycania's trilogy. I have the first one. I need to get to that because I really would like to read his other stuff. But I just found that he was I thought the pacing was brilliant in especially coming off of Sanderson, where Sanderson has so much fluff a lot of the time, especially in Stormlight, that it was like, man, there just wasn't really anything wasted in the book. Like it was
Yeah.
600 pages and there's nothing in it where I'm like, "Oh, get rid of that. That didn't need to be there." Like everything had a purpose. Everything was moving the story forward. Everything was and like just the amount of I just he like drip feeding answers, but then still being very mysterious. And like even by the time you're done the book, it's like, wait, what in the world is going on? But yet he's giving you a little bit throughout. And like Chris and I, we've both gone and reread it just recently, and you even see these like foreshadowing. I'd say he's a master at foreshadowing. He is brilliant.
which
brilliant.
probably comes from his like Christian background, right? I mean, this is the scriptures. Everything points ahead. Everything points to Christ. Like, so
Yeah.
you can tell, even though it's not an overtly Christian, like even some of like the way he swears in it and stuff like that. Like, it's just not.
Mhm.
It's not a
Yeah.
Christian book, but it's
Yeah.
but you can tell he's a Christian when you're reading the story, just because he's drinking in the world of the scriptures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A a good author often, sorry, a bad author in fantasy tells you everything and they don't show you it. And so he does a great job of like, you learn about the world as Viz learns about the world throughout the
Mm,
book. Like, and so
yeah.
like even the way the pacing and the premise starts, like he gives you kind of a little bit of entry level knowledge that you have to know to like place yourself, but then you learn as Viz learns, but it's not like you don't feel that happening if you can kind of get my drift. It's kind of like very not that I would say the books are very similar, but in this aspect they are. It's very similar to the first Harry Potter book where you're experiencing Harry getting entered into this world that he didn't know existed.
Hmm.
Viz knows the world exists, but you're seeing it as it plays out. And like to
Right.
be honest, that's a really good author if you can keep me engaged, but without having to dump info on me by just peeling back the layer over time, because that is what the intrigue is, right? I want to think about what's happening in the next chapter
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole way through. And he does a like Jordan, I think you just said he's a master foreshadower. He really is because like I take notes when I read a book like this, right? Like,
Hmm.
and when I was finished it the first time, I had to go back and be like, did I know about stuff like that? And then I read it a second time, which it's only been out a year. I've already read the book twice. And I
Yeah.
went back and I was like, man, I missed half of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like a pay attention reader, right? Like I'm not audiobooking it. I'm underlining, you know what I mean? Like if that makes sense. And I was like, and I was missing some of this stuff that he was given to me early and I just wasn't picking it up. Like, and that's just to me, that's just really, really
Mm.
brilliant. And then I would also say just to dig in on Sanderson a little bit, because I've really wanted to do that for a long time on a public setting. Uh I would say it's basically Sanderson books with a good editor. Like
Mm,
somebody who's
mm,
actually been ruthless and be like, you don't need 400 pages of talking about how Shalon has 5 personalities. You know what I mean? Like, just cut that out. And it makes it a much more enjoyable read. Like I think I said to you, Nate, before you started reading it, like it's 600 or something pages, but it feels like a 300-page novel because it goes
mhm.
that
Yeah.
fast, right? It's such
Yep.
an easy read. So
Yeah.
without being dumb, if that makes
Uh,
sense.
the one thing that I think is worth mentioning, listeners, if you have not read it, it would, and if you're going to read it physically, not in the audiobook, I would go and look at the back of the book where there is actually a pronunciation guide because a lot of it is like Latin sounding words and a bunch of it is made up. And if you're just reading it on the page without hearing it, there's a like you're certainly going to be saying names wrong. And so that's one thing where I think, Chris, to what you were saying about missing so much stuff, because I found in the second read through, like I was blown away by how much I didn't pick up. But I wonder if a big part of that as well is because they're words that are just made up words. And it's just, I mean, early on, let's just say there are significant words in this book that are mentioned very early on in the book, and you just kinda gloss right over it because it's like, "Well, I don't know what that word is." Like, "Okay." And you just don't even think about it, and
Yeah.
then you start seeing as the story goes, like, there's significance there. So, that was, like, one thing where not that it's a knock, but it's I almost wish that there was, like, a thing at the beginning of the book for the how to describe things. Because in talking to, like, Perry at church or John or just other people who are reading it, and, like, they're saying, like, "Ulcisaur." It's like, "No, it's Ulquiskor." And they just right? And it's like, "What? Ulquiskor?" It's like, "Yeah, it's Ulquiskor." And it's like, you wouldn't know that, so just, like, one little thing there. Now, Chris, you mentioned Harry Potter. You mentioned earlier when you're talking about like the parallels to other books. I mean, in the last couple years, I've read through Red Rising. I've read through the first two
Mm.
books of The Name of the Wind. Obviously, Harry Potter. You have this school setting. So I'm curious, was that a barrier to entry for you? Like, did you know that going in that he was really drawing from those? Like, did those tropes bother you that he was going to pull from them so heavily?
Uh, no, it didn't bother me. but I would say, like, I'm not generally a school setting, like, that's not a setting that I'm overly, like, always in love with, if that makes sense. So, like, knowing it was kind of like a Name of the Wind school setting, I was like, "Nah," like, I've read that before, I'm kinda not in.
Hmm.
But it counteracted by the fact that, like, one of the tropes that I just generally love is I love kind of like fugitive, on the run, trying to keep my identity secret, like, in a culture that's kinda overrun, like spy culture kind of thing, and I think, like, in a fantasy setting, I think he pulled that part of it off absolutely amazing. And so I was kinda hooked based on that part of it, that I could overlook the school setting. But I you do, for those who have read, like, Red Rising, um, Name of the Wind, I get a little bit too, but particularly Red Rising, I would say it's very close to the first book of Red Rising in terms of just a lot of what's going on.
Hmm.
But I would say, like, I liked Red Rising. I think Pierce Brown is a great author. I think this is a much better book, if that makes sense. Like, I
Mm.
think the world is a little bit more intriguing. I'm not overly a fan of, um, like, sci-fi. I'm like, I like sci-fi, but it's not my favorite thing. I like it kind of more serious than Red Rising was, but this kind of plays that same theme, but in a better setting, in my opinion. Uh, and
Yeah, I think it would be
I
one.
really liked it. So
I think it would be one thing if he borrowed from it and wrote a worse book, but he
yeah.
didn't. Like he borrowed from it and wrote a better book. And like I really do like the first person perspective because I really enjoyed that in Name of the Wind because that was like the first time where I can remember reading a book from that first person narrative perspective. It's like, oh, this is actually really cool. But but I think he did it better here. I mean, Patrick Rothfuss, he's got brilliant writing as well. Like he's a very poetic, beautiful writer. But he, I found, also kind of leans a little bit towards the Robert Jordan side of things, where it's, and again, I just read Wheel of Time book one, and it's like, I'm glad I know what the color of every single roof in this town is. That's great. I mean, thank you for that. I don't need that. So I like that he paints the picture, like he is descriptive, but he's not overly so, which I just really enjoyed. Now, Nate, um, you've obviously been reading a lot of Sanderson. You're fairly familiar with Sanderson now. How would you compare, obviously these are different perspectives, but how would you compare
Yeah.
the authors?
Yeah, I mean, you've already mentioned the pacing issues. I think Chris's point is a good one that Sanderson needs a better editor. I think there's a lot of stuff, whether it's oh, three-quarters of a book in Shadesmar kind of stuff that just gets tedious and long. Um, okay, so a couple things. Just in terms of what I like more about Islington is he's obviously more of a moral man, right? So like Sanderson, like when you look at like Shalon and her, they're just things that are actually just uh objectively wrong that characters are doing that they never get called out for. Right? You have a character, I think, in the Stormlight Archives, the most likable character in the whole series is Adolin. And the fact that he loves Shalon despite all of her issues is supposed to be looked at as this noble virtue and make him more likable. And that's actually the one thing I can't stand about Adolin's, that he's not calling her out on like these fractured psyches that are making her do terrible things. So I think just in terms of his morality, it makes for a better story. I think he's just a better writer as well in terms of like Stormlight. Stormlight had some great twists and turns, and I don't want to say like those moments. We've talked about a spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't read it, but like uh, when what's his name gives up the sword to Sadius, right? Like, I mean, there's certain moments that are
Dalton.
just fantastic. Yeah, when Dalinar gives up Oathbringer to Sadius, and when Kaladin decides to, you know, take control of Bridge 4, like these are just pivotal moments. So Sanderson's good at this too. What I find better about Islington is that you don't really see any of these twists coming. Like there are certain things that like I don't know when you want to get into spoilers, but there's certain things where it's like, oh, I feel like I should have seen that coming, but he just did a good job at concealing that one. And then there's certain things that I'm sure I'm going to get to at the end where I'm like, oh, he was actually giving that away, but I just wasn't paying attention because you guys said that, so I imagine I'll get caught by the same thing. So I think his writing is just more compelling generally. I think there are things in Stormlight that you have to trudge through, like trying to build the world visually in your mind. The whole idea of like what's the thing where they can turn one thing into something else and they have to go down to Shadesmar and convince the stick to become fire. Like there's just certain
Mm.
things that are just dumb in his world. Whereas in Will of the Many, I don't find that there's dumb throwaways to it. I think it's more mature, I guess would be the way to say that. So I just find his writing style much better. And like I said, I do think that as somebody who's tried to write things before, writing first person narrative is actually the hardest to do. It comes most naturally to people because they write from their own perspective, but to do it well is actually a really difficult thing because you're limiting the perspective and you're also limiting the information you can give to your readers, which is a harder way to build a world. So I'll just give a small example. Like when Chris was talking about how this knows the world and yet you're still kind of discovering it through his eyes. Well, it's just brilliant the fact that he's not from Katenin society. He's from Seuss. So as an orphan, right, or a feigned orphan who is all of a sudden brought in by Alkiskor, when he's on a transfect for the first time, he is on a transfect for the first time. He is, even though he knows about the world, he's learning it for the first time. And it's believable because of who he is within the world. And yet Islington has come up with a way of showing you instead of telling you. And it's from his perspective. But in order to do that, you have to have the thought through the depth of, well, why would this be the first time he's ever seen something like this?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he asking these questions? And some of it actually happens through you learn a lot about the imbuing of will and the mathematics behind that stuff through his studies at the academy. And they're in
Mm-hmm.
throwaway lines and stuff like that. But it's actually, it's just a really mature, well thought through world that he builds fairly concisely, which is the hardest part about fantasy, I think, is building a robust world, but doing so in a way that doesn't, as Chris said, info dump on the reader.
Yeah, I'd be curious for somebody, maybe Chris, maybe this is you, or maybe it's somebody who is like thinks even more deeply about this. But it seems when you're reading it, and they're talking, or sorry, when we're reading the book and they're talking about will and all the different rules for will, as in most magic systems, like they think about how things impact this and what causes that and effects and all that. I'd be curious if it seemed like it was all made sense. Like, it seemed like this is a real thing, right? Like, oh yeah, like this is how one would imbue a thing with will. Cool. Um, did you, Chris? How would you compare this magic system? Because a lot of people say a good fantasy series lives and dies on its magic system. What would you say? Like, how did you like this compared to other magic systems and other fantasy that you've read?
Yeah, I like it a lot because it like I would wonder even if Islington would cringe at us calling it even a magic system.
Yeah,
Because this is
yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of the foundation of the world, right? Like so I thought the coolest part of the imbuing will and the aurora columni and all those things that they like seed to each other is that this is the default standard of their whole society. Everything's built upon seething will holding things together. Like you mentioned the transvect, which we won't get into spoilers of like, but like that runs on people in their society seeding some of their will to make that run. So their trains run on the magic system, but it's all connected to it. Like everything in their society works on the magic system, right? So it's not like
Right.
where I'm going with that is like most magic systems are there's a world and there's characters, and then there's some that have either access to the magic or the magic is kind of like superimposed onto the world. Whereas the neat thing in the Will of the Many in the hierarchy is that the magic system is the world. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, and the like characters like Viz are actually the ones that are like superimposed onto the magic system. It's Viz having to learn how to fit in to the world that already exists with the foundation of the magic system, which is a really like really good paradigm shift in terms of just the way we even interact with the world, which is why I think like you can read Red Rising, you can read Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, and those are all fabulous, but they feel similar. Whereas this, like you read it, and it's like this feels like a totally new thing that I've never read before, even though it's not. It's just because the magic system's kind of the foundation of the whole plot. Like everything is about that. You know what I mean? And how
sure.
Viz interacts with that. And then even like not getting into any spoilers, but like decisions he makes and paths he's charting out for his future and plot like ways he interacts with people is based on his belief and his thought process of the magic system. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
now he wouldn't, they don't call it a magic system. They just talk about will, but like he makes decisions specifically based on his interaction with with will and stuff like
Well,
that, which I just think is like the only thing I would say is close to that is the Wheel of Time, and you don't get that in the Wheel of Time till about book 5. You know what I mean? Like it
Mm.
doesn't even come into being until that part. But the Wheel of Time is probably the only other world that does that kind of thing, which I thought was really cool. Nate, you were talking about like Sanderson and other authors, like they kind of tell a story and then build a world kind of around the story is kind of what I was hearing you say. What I found really interesting about the hierarchy is that it felt like, to me anyway, it felt like Islington came up with a cool idea of a world and a magic system, and now is just telling me a story within that world, if that makes sense. Where it's like I don't know where this goes down the road. I have some theories, but like where it ends in book 3, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's 6 more books in the hierarchy world, if that makes sense. Because like the world is such that I'm like, I want to know and be a part of this world, even though like it kind of sounds awful. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
to be honest with you, like doesn't sound
Well,
great. Like unless I'm a course.
seeding sounds just dreadful.
Terrible.
Right? Just awful.
now,
So yeah.
granted, this is what I mean though by the unreliable narrator is you think that because this is the one telling you the story, right? And it
Mm.
seems to him like there's nothing worse than the possibility of seeding his will. Now, that's I would agree with him, but that's also because he's been the one in my ear for the last 500 and some odd pages, right? So that's what's cool about it as well. But to your point there, Chris, I think what's also interesting is let's just take Harry Potter, right? So in Harry Potter, you're the reader is opened up to this whole world of magic behind the scenes, and we're all just muggles, trying to live in the world that sucks, and and Harry Potter is the
What a life.
protege of the magic system, right? Like he comes in and he's the gifted magician, right? You look at like Kaladin and you find out like he's not only he's not only got this spren who's giving him powers, but that spren happens to be an ancient spren with extra like a bunch of like it's always a protege who's the best at the magic system, right? If you look at the what's Sanderson's other book, I'm drawing a blank right now,
Mistborn?
with the alloy, yeah, Mistborn, and you look at Vin, and she's misborn, so she can burn all of the various things, right? So like it's always a protege within the magic system. What's cool about this is actually the protagonist who's resisting, like he doesn't
Mm.
want to use will, he doesn't want to see, nor does he want to take will, right? So it's like he's actually the one working against the system and has no desire to be a part of it. So he's a protege in that he's really smart and well trained and well educated and tough, but he's not the Harry Potter who's the most gifted magician who just has to figure out his powers. He's not just Kaladin who is the most gifted guy in the universe but has to figure out his powers. He's not just Vin who has to be trained by Kelsor, right? So it's like it's different in that regard. He doesn't want to use the power that's available.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like if Luke Skywalker said, it's cool that I could use the force, I'm just not gonna. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
forget it. Like,
Kind of though, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So
All right. Well, Nate, I think I want to give a spoiler warning right now because I want to hear where you think things are going,
Okay.
but I want to give the warning to people that this is going to spoil things for if you have not read it. So, spoilers warning right now, approximately 39-ish minutes into this. You have been warned. So now go away if you do not want spoilers, but Nate, how where are you at right now and
Okay.
where do you think things are going?
So I literally just finished the chapter where Vis has a long conversation with Federique, I believe his name is,
Mhm.
who's the
Yep.
guy from his from Seuss, who recognizes him in the palace, who basically says I had to become one of them so that they would treat our people well. And so he showed him a bunch of stuff that he saved from his parents and all that kind of stuff. They met up in the passageway and they had this emotional response and all this kind of stuff. So that's where I am. This is in Seuss at his parents' old palace, the palace he grew up at, because Reliquia
Kia,
sent
yeah.
him there to spy on military because they had the summit. So he just found out also by sitting in the secret passageway that military has actually been um, supplying arms to the Anguis, which is not unlike the U.S. funding terrorism, and so he's just found that out, which kind of blows a big hole in everything. So it seems like military has been funding the Anguis so that they are justified in continuing to rule, because it seems like military is the most powerful of the three pillars. And what we've learned through the politics at the academy is that military is losing its grip, because as peace is established in the empire, the need for military is waning. So that's kind of where I am in the story. It's interesting. So there's a couple things now that we're getting into spoilers. The fact that Reliquia was Elkiskor's wife, who was also the right hand lady of the Anguis. That was mind blowing to me, and I felt like I
Mhm.
should have seen it coming, but I didn't. It was a
Mhm.
shocker when
I
she
didn't.
walks into
I didn't see it coming.
the
Like,
No.
so,
festival of the ancestors. I'm like, oh no way!
and
Yep.
And
she
it
and she shot El Keystar? Like, like,
Yeah, she
Yeah,
shot
she's the
him in
one
the
who
leg
shot
with
him.
her with
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's pretty sweet.
like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and just yeah, the whole society thing, the fact that like Alkey is keeping things from his wife, she's obviously keeping lots from him. Everybody has secrets. It's just so right now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't know how the heck this is going to get out of this, because Alkey wants him to run in the labyrinth that he found in the ruins, that you'll die if you don't run it. It seems like the whole labyrinth at the academy is training grounds because Viridius wants somebody to get through that maze in the thing. And then Reliquia is obviously not going to let him go. She's going to keep him under his thumb. I don't know. I just don't see how this is going to get out from under this. But if you wanted, okay, so here's my theory. This is what I think. I think that the weapons that the Anguis are using, like even the arrow that knocks out Elkiscore, right? They didn't know how he did that, how she did that. The weapon that Estevan uses at the Colosseum when he like kills everybody and things start falling out of the sky and everything, and Vis has to kill him, or actually he commits suicide when Vis confronts him. But so I think that all of those kinds of weapons seem like they're pre-cataclysm, like before. So it seems to me like there's so much that's talking about the cataclysm, and I still don't know exactly what that was and what the world was like prior to that. But it seems to me that this cataclysmic worldwide event kind of put the world back into like dark ages of some kind, and it's the Katenin society and the seeding of will and all that kind of stuff that kind of reformed society. So it seems to me like that was almost like a reset button, whether that was hit by somebody or whatever, and sort of born out of the ashes of the cataclysm. Katenin society is born. I think that the labyrinth is going to, in Mass Effect, Chris, when
mhm.
everything is building towards the trilogy, when Shepard has to get up and he goes to the Reapers and he has the choice, right? Do you reset everything? Do you destroy the Reapers? What do you do? I think that the labyrinth, I think this is going to have to run it. I think he's going to win it. I think he's going to take him somewhere where he's going to have to make a choice, and the choice is this society that's been built to protect the world from itself, so to speak, this order that's been established through the seeding of will and this whole society. This is going to have the opportunity to either destroy it or or not. I think that's what he's it's almost like the labyrinth gives somebody like Shepard, like Commander Shepard from Mass Effect, the choice of, do you want to hit the reset button again, or do you want to keep the order that's here now? Because this is seen the corruption of the whole system. And it's interesting because I think that one of the coolest things is the play on like him and Reliquia talking, and Reliquia is like, you have more reason to hate the hierarchy than anybody. And he's like, yes, but that doesn't mean I'm going to kill innocent people. And then she's like, they're not innocent if they're ceding their will. They're part of the corrupt system. So that I think that play is going to come into it, because if he chooses to take down the system that he hates, transfects are going to fall out of the sky, like people are going to die. But I think that the whole seeding of will system, he's gonna have an opportunity to, like, pull the plug on it, so to speak. And I don't know how it has to do with all the zombie-like people with the obsidian spears in them that are attached to all the pyramids, but I think it
Uh-huh.
has something to do with that. I think that's I don't know. I don't know exactly what that is, but I feel like that's almost like how they seeded will pre-cataclysm, and now they seed will through sappers and by giving people choices or something. But I think that's sort of what I think is gonna happen.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna
And
tell you
part of
anything, so
book 2 being called The Strength of the Few makes me wonder whether or not, like, if everything is set to normal, right, and everything's on normal ground, because he can destroy the whole ability to seed will, because we don't really know how you seed will. Like Chris said, I think Islington would probably balk at the idea that this is a magic system. All this really is somebody being able to take some of the strength of other people, and then what can you do once you have that strength and once you have ample strength? So it seems to, but we don't know how that happens. It seems like early on, right, when Vis touched the sapper in, like, the first chapter, it didn't affect him. And the theory is because he never went to the columni thing, so he doesn't have the ability to either take or seed will. And so I think there's something that gives people the ability to seed that will, like some sort of artifact, some sort of whatever that is, and I think he's gonna have the opportunity to destroy it. And if he does, it brings the whole system to its knees, which would make book 2 sort of this out of the ashes, post-apocalyptic kind of thing where nobody has will anymore. Anyway, that's my
okay. All right.
Yeah, I think it's I like how you seed will, I think is like there's the sappers or the forced, like I'm forcing you to take your will. And I
right.
think they take a lot of it if you're in the sapper. And then I think when you go to the columni,
Aurora
I can't the
Columni.
like
Aurora
I,
Columni.
yeah, I think that's like you're kind of like choosing to
Yeah.
allow your will to
Agreed.
be seed. Now, how they actually take your will, who knows? But
Yeah.
I thought that was like I think that's like kind of explained, but I don't. I it's interesting. I kind of think a little similarly to you in terms of like um the weapons and whatnot are probably pre cataclysm, and either the anguish find found them or they have access to them in some way. I'm trying to say this without spoiling, but and then like what's kind of their goal? Because I kind of read the same thing. This is where I was kind of going with some of the not reliable narrator idea in terms of like this clearly looks at them as like the evil ones and stuff like that. And like when you start to hear the things about military that you've kind of like just started to uncover where it's like they're the ones paying this terrorist organization to kill people like so that
Yeah.
they can keep power even though up until that moment religion has been the bad branch if that makes sense,
Right.
right? And then like it's like you look at religion as like oh they're the terrible because like the person who saves Viz is from military, so you're
Mhm.
getting military's good, military's needed. And then all of a sudden you get to that point where you're like, wait, military are terrible. I don't actually know any reason to dislike religion other than that I was told to dislike religion. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so they're playing on
Now,
those themes and
obviously, it seems like Viridius is sending students into the run this labyrinth and letting them die because either he's too cowardly to try to the run himself or whatever, or maybe you can't go into the labyrinth if you are using will. I don't know, but however that works out, it seems like Viridius is also bad. But I did wonder if there's going to be a flip flop because military is like, yeah, you like them until all of a sudden you really don't. And now I'm like, oh, like maybe Viridius is maybe that labyrinth has something to do with establishing peace or like I don't know. Like it seems to me like Islington is good enough at showing that people aren't black and white, that there's a lot of gray and there's a lot of like even Reliquia, who you hate, she like if you are looking at the evils of a system, like I guess one of the questions that it keeps bringing up is like what is permissible to bring down an evil system. And that's like that's
Mm-hmm.
a really complex and really deep thought, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I think it's very interesting. You mentioned when you were talking pre-spoilers about how Sanderson doesn't uh call down people's negative like sin. Basically, he doesn't
Right.
like Shalon's mental illness is celebrated, not condemned. And
Right.
what I find interesting about this book, Islington, like without overtly doing it, he actually calls down like Viz's sin, right? Like
Yeah.
Lanistia's
Lack of
character,
self-control,
like
dude's got a temper, like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly,
never
and
excused.
Lanistia's whole point is to make him unprideful, to humble him,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like that's literally what she does. She beats the crap out of him all the time to be like, "You're not tougher than me. Try it. I'm blind and I'm still gonna beat you up." Like, and it's
Yeah.
like to try
And
to
she
bring you
does.
into this thing. And what is it? What's actually that doing? Like, it's making him less prideful, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
taking down his because like very early on, you get he has a chip on his shoulder. I'm better than everybody. I'm this, and that starts getting chipped away. And it's like, well, that's a good thing. That's supposed to happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's like a perfect guy or anything, but like the chinks in the armor, so to speak, don't get celebrated. That's not a character. Um, that's not a positive character trait in Viz, if that makes sense. And
Right.
Islington doesn't make it so. So like, I think that's really interesting. So
Yeah.
can I ask questions? Am I allowed to ask him questions?
Yeah, if
Sure.
you want to ask him questions, yeah, go for it.
Uh, you said do you think Varys is like good or do you think he's good or bad? Like,
Viridius, I still think he's bad, but there's definitely that, like, since I heard what I heard about military, I am starting to wonder whether or not Viridius is actually the good guy. And you're going back to, like, Vis will say things like, "Oh, he's saying this," and it's just like, "Man, he's a great actor," right? And it's just like, well, maybe he's not acting. Maybe that's been beaten into you by Alkiscore, right? So there is part of me that does wonder whether or not he's a good guy, or maybe like the first book will end thinking religion is good, and then the second book shows us that religion's bad qualities. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's like because it's supposed to be a trilogy, right? Like maybe it's actually showing the weakness
It's
of
3 or
military, the
4.
weakness
I
of
actually don't know.
religion, the weakness of governance. I don't
I
know,
hope it's
like
10, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
So,
seriously.
like,
I think it might be
so.
4. I think I looked into whether it was a trilogy, and I think I saw somebody said 4, but maybe he hasn't announced that yet. I don't know. I haven't seen a definitive
Um,
thing.
I'm fine with it. I'm
so
fine
I'm
with it.
on the fence. Verdius. I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I'm on the
No, no, I
fence
was just
because I've
curious.
gone back and I've gone back and forth a few times. I'm
Yeah.
so worried. I'm so worried because everybody seems to be a bad guy. I'm so worried that Amisa is a bad guy too, and I don't want her to
Mhm.
be. I feel
I
so.
mean, you can finish that tonight, Nate. 3 hours? You can get that done
I know
tonight.
that's my hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, girls at
Okay.
gems tonight too, so it's a good night to finish
Yeah.
it.
Seems great.
All
Turn it
right.
up.
All right.
All right, Nate.
You want me to drop
Y-
off so you guys can actually talk about how wrong I was or how right I was?
I guess you're gonna have to finish tonight, and then we're
Listen to this when it drops tomorrow, having
that,
finished tonight.
that's right.
That's my goal.
And you can now see how right or wrong you were. So he's going to have his mind blown,
Big time.
which
Big
is
time.
so fun.
I,
Yeah.
I, it is fun.
Uh,
One of my secret joys is, and this might be why I read everything's like first, is I love this experience where you're like friends of mine are now experiencing something I've experienced,
yeah.
and I get to talk it through with them, like, which is why I'm so intrigued with like Strength of the Few, reading it with people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
be like, all right, let's all start at the same time and try to finish in 2 weeks or whatever, right? Like, because I do want to like kind of experience it with people, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
um,
No, I'm the same. I'm enjoying like having Mel like run into the living room when she's in the kitchen doing something, listening to her book and being like, "Wait, what?" And it's just like, "Yes." And she just like right when she got to the part where Melior was just like murdering everybody, she's just like, "What in the world? What?" She's just like devastated as she's reading it, and then with the prologue or the epilogue or the epilogues,
Yeah.
she was just like, "Wait, what just happened?"
What's it?
And she was like, she wasn't actually like what just happened. And so it's
in
funny
fairness,
because
that's how I was the first time too.
no, well, that's it. And I'm actually like, I'm encouraged that Nate didn't anticipate it because he has no idea what's coming. And I was just like, wait, am I just like a complete idiot? And did I just like entirely miss something that this was being? Now, I think reading second time through, I really do think that there were things there where it's like, okay, there's something going on with with Obitium and Lucium than I was realizing
Yeah.
in the first read through. And it's like now that you know and you realize it's within the first couple pages, Alkeyscore is saying when he's asking that guy who's on the sapper and he mentions Obitium and Lucium, it's like, oh, okay, so like there it was right away. And then even with the guy, I wasn't, maybe I forgot, but that guy who he ended up fighting at the end, who Relukia was talking to, the guy with the scar who could teleport. And I guess I wasn't even really like thinking that much as that scene was happening to realize like, wait, like this guy is like a superpower of some kind. Like what's going on here? So then all of a sudden when you get to the end and it's like, yeah, there are three different realities. And it's like, wait, what? And
And
I don't want to say much because it's talked about in the first chapter already. So I know things, Chris, that you don't know. So I want to be careful. I don't want to ruin it for you, but I'd say just go, it's 2 weeks. Just go read the first chapter. Just go, it's,
I
just go
probably
read
will.
it. Because it questions are answered and new questions are brought up. And the first chapter ends with a thing where it's like, I want to tell you right now really badly because it's like, you
What
have got to be kidding me. Oh, I'm gonna go like look at it right now just because I wanna. Yeah, it's right
Well,
here.
that's
Yeah,
funny because like I'm confident this is true, but like I'll be like, oh, these are some of the like my theories and things like that. And I'm sure half of them are blown out of the water in the first chapter of the next book, right? Like, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't even know. So,
all right. Well,
which is
let
great.
me. I've just got a bunch of things here. Questions for you, and for those who are still listening, that is because hopefully, if you listened and obeyed, you have read this book and you are right there with us. So I can think of a few people who are probably sticking around listening to this because it's funny at church now. Like friend of the show, Perry. Like he's so in. I love it so much. So Perry, I love it, man. I'm so happy that you're just like right there with us because and even like Josh is also hugely into it, and Mel now and Lauren. Like it's great. We don't just have people who are like just like dabbling, like they're in. They are so in to this book. And one thing that's really interesting, and I didn't feel this way, but Melissa was saying after she finished it, and so she like then processed that, okay, so there's now three of him. Okay, there's three different worlds. Okay. She was actually a little bit bummed out because now it's gonna take a direction now, or at least it could go in a direction that's very different from what the first book was. And because now all of a sudden it's not just like a political thriller. I think she really just enjoyed like the school setting political thriller, and I think she just like she really got into that. But it's like, so I told her, I don't think that's going anywhere. That's still gonna be there. Like that's still one reality because the next book is going to be all three perspectives of the different Vizes who have been copied, or sorry, the two that were copied in the OG one. So I
Yeah.
don't think that's going away. I think you're still gonna like Res Viz is still gonna be working his way through all the political stuff and manipulations and all those things.
I think
Um,
more so like,
yeah,
cause now he's got a job in governance, right? Like,
yeah,
so, I actually
and
think he's going to be, I actually think you're like, Melosphere is probably good, like, and right, but I think it's going to probably be only right for two of the settings. Like, I think
yeah,
we're kind of going to get I think we're gonna get like spy political thriller in the OG Viz realm. I think we're gonna get like a post-apocalyptic kind of narrative in the I'm gonna get them wrong which one if that's Obitium and then we're gonna kind of get like the more of the like school power figuring out in the other realm. So I actually think we're gonna get all three still, but just not all being experienced by the same this, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
and how he's gonna work that all back to be like all of them coming back together or mixing their consciousness. This I don't know how to say that word, but like that's what I'm totally in for all this because when I first read it, I'll read right up front. I actually felt the ending was very rushed the first time I
hmm
read it,
hmm
like because I didn't understand like why are the anguish there? Like why are they killing all the the people, and it's like, well, they have their own agenda, and this is just a part of it. It's not like he's even the biggest part. And then when I reread it, I was like, oh, like that's like there's so much going on that this isn't like we are used to like everything seemed like Harry Potter. I'll give an example. Like everything in that Harry Potter universe revolved around Harry Potter and Voldemort. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, whereas like the thing that I love about this world is that like this is living in it, but it doesn't revolve around him. If he got killed, like from the world's perspective in the book, if Vis got killed, nothing changes. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like the Anguish still have their agenda, military still has their agenda, Verdus still has his agenda. I was curious to know if Nate thought Verdus was a bad guy because I think I'm actually on the side of now. I think Verdus is probably closer to the good side than the bad side, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. I
Now,
agree.
not a good dude, but like,
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things as well where it's the lines between the good guy and the bad guy, and then ends justifying the means. It's like it's so blurry actually in the story, which makes it so interesting. Where you have the Anguis, and it seems like that they're uh you know fighting this noble cause against the hierarchy, but then it's like, are you? Like that's some pretty gnarly stuff that you guys were doing on on that island to those like kids. Like that's pretty wild. Like so, like that was crazy, and so it's like I'm not really convinced entirely, and so that's one of the mysteries for me is like I actually don't know who the bad guy is, and that was one of the things interestingly in the book that there wasn't really there wasn't like a central bad guy. There's no introduction of Voldemort or Saruman or Sauron or even Wheel of Time, who's the main the dark one.
the
And
dark, yeah, the dark one.
right, is that what it is, the dark one?
Yeah,
So it's even like there's no mentioning of a bad guy. There's not like the, ooh, you're the highest guy in the hierarchy and you're really scary. And that's one of the things that's interesting. I'm curious to see how that possibly changes. Is like, is the big baddie in this world just like a really OP senator in the hierarchy, or is there actually something way bigger than that? And that's where I think it's really interesting after reading the first chapter and just getting uh it's I mean this shouldn't be surprising, but like it is going to be from other Viz perspectives. So you start the book in non-res Viz, which is
mhm,
really cool. And so it's like
can't wait.
already, oh man, oh, already it's just okay. I'm just gonna even tell you. You start with Seror, and he's answering questions, which but
Right?
like not great, and like as best he can. And so it's like there's still answers, but then you're not really getting all the answers. Um, and so I, I don't know. I'm I've read some reviews, and I've tried to be like really surface level. I don't really want any plot stuff. Like I want to go in not really. I don't want to know. But everything I have read has been glowing. And the one review that was I saw people sharing was a guy, and he said he masterfully weaves three different POV perspectives together just absolutely brilliantly. And he world builds in three different worlds simultaneously without it feeling overwhelming. It's like that's a hard thing to do. Like he welcomed a challenging, quite the challenge where you have essentially three different characters in three different worlds, but all still having to push forward the narrative of the first book, which is the thing that everybody fell in love with.
Yeah, I can't wait. Because like you even talking about that, like just the paradigm shift. Like think of it like we'll keep going back to Harry Potter. Imagine what Harry Potter would have looked like if book one was just Harry, but book two was Harry, Hermione, and Ron. You know what I mean? And you
Mm-hmm.
got each of their perspectives, and they had
Yeah.
branching out plot lines that like had impact on the world. Like that's literally the challenge he has is to take people from who loved the solo perspective, give us now two other perspectives in two totally different settings without us having nostalgia for the first setting, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's like the fact that apparently he's pulled it off, like because that like I think we've talked about this. Book one to me is awesome. It's a top 10 book. the series has the potential to be a top 5 series if he lands book 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Like, but like he set the bar so high for after book 1 that I'm like, it could be reasonable that it would have a step back and still be a fantastic book, but just not. But like, you know, if he pulls it off, like this is going to be unbelievable. And I think, and like your point about like there's no big dark lord kind of thing. I think he's even so clever because he kind of plays at that with like we think that's Veritas kind of right away. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
they kind of hint
Mm-hmm.
like Alkistor tells us it's Veritas. Veritas is the bad
Mm-hmm.
guy. Veritas is the bad guy. And then Veritas is barely in it. Like
Mm.
and when he's in it, he's actually a helpful character, not a
Yeah.
hindrance.
Yep.
It's like if Snape was on Harry's side, right? Like, and it's like he's
Yep.
not. And then all of a sudden, like, so like you finish the book thinking, well, maybe the big villain is actually the hierarchy overall, not any one person, just the system. And then you have to answer the questions like, and Nate's right to pull up like how culpable is a system if people are willing to do this? If like, you know, are they actually doing anything morally wrong by having a society like this? You know what I mean? Like, because nobody's rebelling against the society other than this and a few other people, right? Like,
Yep.
so it's it's going to be fascinating. I can't wait um, for to get to book 2. I might you've kind of made me want to read the first chapter tonight, so I might do that.
I
Like,
did. I read it and I wasn't. I was very. I'm glad I did it weeks before it was coming out. If I did that, because he released it like 6 months ago, and I'm very happy I did not.
Sweet.
Otherwise, that would have just messed with me. I think it'll give you a good taste without having you to like wait a super long time to actually pick up the book
Oh, that's
in a
good.
couple weeks. Yeah, I think it's fascinating the direction he's going and some of the answers, but then still some of the mysteries. And I'm curious, like some of it, there's I forget exactly what it was, but he made a comment or one of the lines in it was like, "Oh, I wonder if you're just not going to tell us." Like there was a thing that he kind of mentioned. It was a question asked by one character to another character, and then the answer was just kind of like, "Oh, this might just be shrouded in mystery." And it's like, "Oh, that's kind of fascinating too." Where, yeah, I'm not going to tell you. It's like, ah, okay, but maybe you will later. I don't know, but it's just that I don't know. I really liked it. So,
Well, that's great.
um, couple questions for you that I've been chatting with. Well, I mean, a bunch of people about, but the one I mentioned that one of my theories Melissa ruined, or not ruined, but she poked a hole in it was I thought his younger sister was going to be alive, and I think you believe that as well. But she said that in the dialogue with Viz and Frederique, he says that 3 days after the hanging, they found his sister in the water. And I don't know if you read the prologue. Did you read the prologue? Do you have the deluxe?
Yep. Like the of
Okay.
the first book?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So in that, when his like he goes with his sister, they're trying to get away. They go under. She ends up drowning. He tries to resuscitate her, couldn't, and then pushed her out to sea. It's said that Federique said they found her 3 days later.
Oh, see, I think when I read that, and this is why it's always helpful to go back and read. I had a hard time keeping track of how many siblings he had,
Yeah.
and because he wasn't taking over like he wasn't going to become king. He was going to be his sister's advisor, which like so like his sister was going to inherit the throne. Is I think if I've read that right. And so I was like, so then does he have a younger sister? And so there was 3 kids. They found 2. Viz's escaping. Like so, like when I'm like thinking the sister's dead, I didn't catch that they found the body because my kind of rule of thumb with a lot of fantasy stuff is if I don't see the body, they're not dead, and
Yeah.
then like no one stays dead except for Uncle Ben. You know what I mean? Like he's the only one that stays dead. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I was
Because it
kind of
says right.
thinking the sister would come back. I actually kind of thought maybe the sister was like a different realm. Now that we've outed the realms, I thought maybe Reliquia was actually the sister from a different realm.
Mm.
which is why she knows who Viz is, right? Because I was thinking like, how do all these people know? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's kind of my thing. Like he's pretty good at keeping himself secret. He's not really been around, but like Reliquia knows. Like I kind of think Veritas knows. You know what I mean? Like that he who he is. Um Obviously
I
the guy with the
think,
scar knew. Like
yeah. I mean, Melior being part of the Anguis, like the leader of the Anguis, and him
what?
being a former advisor to Viz's dad. I think there was a line in the prologue that said they're coming, essentially the hierarchy was coming for them because of what they know. So there's something about sus that the hierarchy wanted. So then it makes you think that, okay, his dad, if his advisor, who's now the leader of the Anguis, was able to get access to this like power that allowed him to just weaponize it and murder all these people, it makes me think that his dad might have had some knowledge of that as well. And I don't think his dad is gone from the story.
Mm. Yeah,
And
you
what that
mentioned it.
looks like,
Like
yeah, what that looks like, I don't know. But that dream thing that he had at the end in the hospital, and then there's his toy boat. It's like, well, somebody had to put it there. So that means somebody from Sus is there. Now, did we ever find out who the mole was in the um at the academy? Because didn't she said that there was they had somebody at the academy. Did we ever find out who that was?
no, my I think one of my theories I think Veritas is part of the anguish. So
Oh
I think
yeah.
I mentioned
Okay.
that like so I actually kind of think that's Veritas because I think he knows. Like so
Mm, okay.
remember at the end of the book where the boats put on the thing by the hospital?
Yeah.
Like when he wakes up and it's the
Yeah.
boat from Sus that he found earlier. And so I'm like I kind of look at that like somebody either one of the kids that went with him or Veritas knows that he's the Prince of Sus, but doesn't want to out him, but he wants him
Yeah.
to know. And like Veritas kind of did that plea at the end of like we need to work together kind of thing. And like Veritas was kind of like Veritas was seemed like almost panicked at the end of the first book that like by kind of like begging like here's what you need to do. You need to renounce military, you need to join religion, come work at the school, be here with me, like or else the cataclysm's coming back. And
Yeah.
so I kind of take it like Veritas kind of knows who he is. Now I could be dead wrong on that, but that's kind of my thought. I'm kind of flipped on the after my second reading, I'm kind of flipped on the idea. I actually think Veritas is a ends justifies the means.
Uh,
Like he'll sacrifice some of the students to try to do this, but he's doing it to try to prevent a cataclysm that
yeah.
he and religion know are coming. And the anguish and military just want to tear the whole like kind of thing down. Or military, I guess, wants to keep their power. But whereas I think religion sees what's coming. Because I think like the sorry, not to talk too much, and
That's all
maybe
right.
the first chapter spoils this, but like I think what Islington's playing on is like heaven, earth, and hell. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the like three realms. So like I think Lyceum, is that the right way to say it? I've only read it, right? Like
Obitium and Lucium. Is that how it's
Lucium.
pronounced?
Okay.
Lucium.
Yeah. So I
I
think
might be getting
Lucium
that
is the
wrong.
upper world.
Yeah.
So I think that's supposed to be heaven. Like
Okay.
and then I think Res is in the middle world, so like Earth, like the middle realm, like the equal choice. And then I think Obitium, where Seesaw is hell. Like I think it's actually like a desolate wasteland, like and now I might be wrong on that, but I like even those words, Obitium, Lyceum, I think they actually even mean in the Latin and stuff, upper world, lower world. Like,
Hmm.
don't quote me on that, but I thought that was
Interesting.
the. I think I'm right about that. So,
Okay.
I think there's lots happening there, but um,
Yeah. I'm just fascinated to see how these different worlds interact because we know that Searoar's alive in one world. He's not in the other. We know that um it was Viz was not supposed to be still alive in Res. Like it took Seror telling him, "Hey, wait," and then writing on his arm. So I'm curious as to why that is. Like, why when somebody goes through that process of synchronization, which is the whole splitting yourself and going into the multiple realms, why is it that res specifically is where typically you're not supposed to, where they don't want you to get out, and then hence all those things trying to stop him from getting out, and then big wolf thing comes and makes a way for him to be able to get out, which I am convinced that there is more to that. I think it's a lupi or a lupi.
Yeah,
There is
Lubai.
something to that wolf that Islington is not just having a fun little plot point where he saves a cute little wolf and it keeps coming back and keeps helping him out of just loyalty. Because no, 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 no. There's no way. There's no way. But I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. I've read some Reddit stuff and I haven't heard any chatter about that. But I also read, I mean, I don't know if this matters to you, but there's a popular book at our church, and it's this, one of the things is like a person being transformed into this other being. So then it makes you wonder, it's like, well, could his dad have been, you know, born into the world as this Alupai wolf thing, or is there some way of like proxying, or we know so little about how these worlds actually interact and what they are and how they are and all that, but I just think there's something there. I think there's something significant with that
Yeah,
wolf.
I've been you mentioned this to me when we were chatting the other couple weeks ago. That theory. I don't think it's like his father in wolf form, if that makes sense. But I was thinking of like that, like one thing that he has established is that you can communicate very like archaically through realms. Like so like he cuts himself in Obitium
Mm-hmm.
for the res viz to like read the words like run and wait and all that stuff. So I'm wondering if it's like the wolf is actually his father in one of the other two realms,
Mm-hmm.
putting like his mind into the wolf, so that it
That's
won't ever
more what
be
I'm
like
thinking. Yeah,
yeah.
that's more what I'm actually thinking. Yeah.
Because I actually hadn't given the wolf any thought other than just like, oh, it's interesting that this wolf that he saved is kind of following him around now. But like it, he doesn't do anything, or he has not shown in any of his books that he does anything without a purpose. And
Yeah.
so the wolf has to have something. And
Yeah.
it would make sense if, okay, like he's got a protector from one of the other realms, wherever his father is, because I think his father's legitimately dead in Res. But like,
Yeah.
so wherever the dad went, if I'm right about like it's the heaven, the hell kind of transition, and um the labyrinth is kind of a real life gateway into all those realms at once, which we would normally transition to in death. You can do it in life in that regard, which is why generally they don't let you live in res once you've gone through,
Mhm.
because you can't be in two places at once, obviously. But I wonder if it is like the Lyceum, or however you say it, uh, this is dad trying to help him in
Yeah.
res, right? And
Well,
then oddly enough, Seesawer's trying to help him, or we think anyway, trying to help
yeah.
him
Well,
in the
because
other way.
like
So
again, if when his dad says that they're coming for us because of what we know, it makes you think that his dad already had knowledge of all of this stuff. So it wouldn't be surprising if he already went through this process of synchronization. Uh, Now questions still abound as to what the cataclysm is, who's bringing about this cataclysm, why, what happened the first time, what was society like before. Those are all things that I am, I just can't wait to actually like get those answers. And um, because yeah, I don't know, there's so many things that my mind is just like racing over, just trying to think about. Okay, like what like, why didn't Seror just tell, well, I guess he did try to tell his brother, he tried to tell Okiskor in, like, the coded messages about something going on there, um, but I'm still not like, how does Okiskor play into all of this? Because like, he wasn't really mentioned at the end, right? It wasn't, so, like, what's he gonna do? Like, Viz is pretty much saying, like, "I'm too big now for you to throw me to the sapper. You can't dis you can't unadopt me anymore and get rid of me." And so it's like, what's that gonna look like? I actually really am curious what the deal is with Lannistia. and her eyes, because her eyes are just like the people, like those people with the obsidian blades, like this, like Nate mentioned, like the zombie type people in the ruins. And so it's like, well, because there we know there's like a cost of some kind
Yeah.
for going to go through synchronization, and so he lost his arm. But really, like, her eyes are burnt out in the exact same way. It's like that doesn't jive, right? So it's like, who are those people? Like, did she like escape? Was she supposed to be one of those people? And then she actually got out, but then she doesn't remember any of it, because it's like, why does she look like those creepy people with the blades in them, who are trying to who just like keep repeating the same thing over and over again? And I don't know. I want to know that.
Yeah, my theory on that is I actually think she's supposed to be one of the zombie people. But like her consciousness, I think she got through the labyrinth is what I think happened. Her and Caesar got through and she got out, but like it's not her res conscience that lives in her now. It's one of the other realms conscience of her has
Hmm.
taken back that body.
Hmm.
And the reason I think that is because like she remembers everything but it. Like she remembers everything but that event. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's because she never like the one that's in her never experienced it, if that makes sense. And like there's kind of a throwaway line where Veritas is like it says that Veritas was actually like legitimately shocked to see her again. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
so like whenever they went through the labyrinth, they were all together. Caesar didn't come out, and we know that he died in res. I think Lannistia died in res too, but then all of a sudden she shows back up without eyes and all that stuff and no memory. And I think Veritas is kind of like terrified of it. You know what I mean? If that makes
So
sense.
so do you think like the bodies that are left there, those people who have the blades in them and the eyes, like, though, is that the body of the person, like the dead body of the person in res? And then that's
Yeah,
like, but like,
that's what I think.
okay.
Because they all said the same thing, right? Like I was a criminal for trying to synchronize before it was allowed or whatever. And like, so
Yeah, what
I
is it
wouldn't
that
be
they
shocked
said?
if I don't know if we'll go back to the labyrinth a ton in the next book or not, but I wouldn't be shocked if at some point you go through the labyrinth and the gatekeeper that comes up and talks to us is like I can't remember the girl's name, the girl who dies that Viz finds dead in the labyrinth.
Belly.
No, yeah. Uh
Belly.
that she's not one of them. You know what I mean? Like doing the thing like whereas I think Viz uh the cost he pays so he loses his arm in res is because I think he's actually succeeded what he was supposed to do. He's split his consciousness into three, and like there's a physical cost to serrating your soul, if that makes sense. I don't know if
Yeah.
that which to me, to be honest, is just like a crazy fascinating
Mm-hmm.
like premise because I actually think the cataclysm is I think the worlds, and I don't know if Sus was holding this together or what, or maybe that they had the power to hold it together. And so, um, but like I think the world has been shattered into three different worlds, and it's the process of them rejoining is what causes the cataclysm, and then it
Yeah.
splits again, and it kind of rejoins. And I kind of get that because he is a Christian guy, and I think of that verse where it talks about like light pushes back the darkness. They don't commingle. It's always one eradicates the other, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And so I'm thinking of like, well, if three realms exist with all the people, all the things, well, they can't come back and you can't have two vises in res. You know what I mean? Like one
Yeah.
has to destroy the other. And so like I actually think that's what the cataclysm is like one of the other three worlds taking dominion over the other one, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, or I could be completely wrong because he doesn't tell us, but he gives us a lot of info, if that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Sorry to not talk too much, but
No.
I think you're right. The dad, the mom, the brothers, the sisters, the people of Sus know far more about what's going on than anybody else. Like,
Yeah.
and I think Viz just simply doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, I think he just wasn't brought into the secret yet. Like,
I think this was one of Perry's insights, which I thought was really interesting, was when Calidus, his Viz's boy at the academy, which I was actually like genuinely bummed out
Well,
that he died. Like that
me
was,
too.
oh man, I really didn't, I liked that character a lot. He was a clever kid. I thought they could have been really fun, like Wax and Wayne kind of thing. I thought that would have had a great dynamic, but because he was saying his dad is like the head guy of the censor or the censure, and saying how like the numbers guy just don't add up. We're supposed to have this many septies and this many sexties and this many. He's like, how many do we have? It doesn't add up. And so it makes you wonder then if there's actually a lot of stuff happening and then the hierarchy right now is just trying to hide it. Like they're lying in their sensor data, um to make it seem like things are good when they're actually probably not, and people are dying or people are falling or like pyramids are collapsing and they're just kind of lying about it. So I thought that was really interesting. I hadn't really thought of that anything more than just like a throwaway world building thing, but it's like, oh, that might be really significant that yeah, like it's already happening, right? The cataclysm is already starting to potentially have an impact on things, but
Yeah.
what that looks like, who that's affecting, we don't know. But
Well, the neat thing is, like, I think you're right. I think that's absolutely going to be part of the second book, because he does go work for that guy. You know what I mean? Like that's where he's going to work,
yep,
in the censor office. So my thing is, like, clearly that is a big piece of what we need to figure out, is like, where is all that will going?
yep,
You know what I mean? Like if I can't remember the numbers, but like if there's 10,000, if there's supposed to be 10,000 sexies, but there's only six, well, that means
yep,
there's will that's being seeded for 4,000 sexies that isn't going to
yep,
them. You know what I mean? So where is all that will all the way up going? And I think the point is that, like, it could be one of two things. I guess, like, there could be somebody near the top of the pyramid who's far stronger than they're supposed to be,
hmm.
and we don't know, or there's a reason that they're hiding these numbers, and they're seeding to something else that's greater than,
I honestly hadn't
you
even
know.
thought of that as or like the where the will was going. I hadn't even thought about that. Like there's just unspent will or unaccounted will. I was thinking of it just more of people are dying in like a pre-cataclysm thing, but that's really interesting. There's just there's will that's going, it's unaccounted for.
Yeah.
The
On a
books aren't adding up. Yeah.
Like, the numbers don't work. And Viz is now gonna go and try to figure that out. So, like, it's funny, Mel's, like, concerned about it not being a political spy thriller.
Oh
I
no.
think it's actually gonna be
Yeah.
far more of that, if
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
anything. Because now he's not constrained to a school setting. He's now out in the world with a whole bunch of wolves, all the
Yeah.
Senate, all the things, and he's, I can't remember the word, like, the C word that he is, where he's, like, famous because he killed Melor, and then he's also the Dominator. Like, so he's
Yeah.
he's the most well-known dude probably in the world at this point. Like,
I yeah.
um,
What is that? The word that's coming to my mind is conquistador, but that's not it. It's
that's not it. That's not it. He's not
yeah,
Hernan
what
Cortez, but like,
yeah. Yeah,
but
I'm Catanicus.
Titanicus, yeah. And like,
Yes.
but now he lives like I'm expecting him to live like in the capital, like, and he's got to like navigate all people who are also dominators of the school, who are also class 3, top of the line, like, and here's a guy who has no history, who has no do that, who everybody else around him now is going to want to tear him down because he's a
Yeah.
threat. Like,
Yeah.
and not a threat physically, a threat like of, because if the way the world's set up is like power is the ultimate goal. Everybody's trying to get more power, more will, more higher status, and Viz kind of keeps falling his way into these things. Like, so he's kind of on the path to be like, you know, upper levels, if that makes sense. If he
Mhm.
starts to seed and grip, well, which I actually think he will,
I was just gonna
in
ask
at
that. Do
least
you
in
think he
res,
will?
like,
Yeah. Do you think he will?
but
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's gonna be fantastic. I can't wait.
How
So
I cannot remember a time since being a kid and Harry Potter coming out and waiting for each new release of Harry Potter. Like this is the most excited for a book I have been since I was 13, whatever that would have been, something like that. 13, 15, I don't know. Like I am going to crush this book. Like it is going to be read so fast. I just can't. Like we were talking about doing this as like a book club for both Reforming Nerdom and at church, and I was chatting with a few people, and they were all just like, well, I mean, like, what does that even look like? Because like I really just want to read, and I don't want to go like chapter by chapter. It's like, oh no way could we ever possibly do that? But I don't know how we
I might finish in a day.
like. I don't know if that's crazy to say that if I have a weekend, like that's I don't think it'll take. I actually don't think it'll take me more than a week to read that book. Like I am going to be reading it a lot. Like I will have late nights. I am fully anticipating staying up till like 2 or 3 o'clock a few
Oh yeah.
times and reading that book and just being fine with it. And but
Yeah, I would say the only 2 books that I've ever been on the same kind of, like, anticipation level for this, the 7th Harry Potter book, I was,
mm,
like, fairly like, I stood in line
oh yeah,
at my bachelor party to get it, you know what I mean? Like, and I read it, like, pretty quickly. And then the other one I know a lot of people will probably not like that I've read these, but, the 5th book for A Song of Ice and Fire, which is Game of Thrones, if you guys like, I was so invested in that. But the problem with that is I'm still waiting for book 6, so forget about it. Like,
is there
and
supposed to
that's
be
never
6 or 7 in that series?
there's supposed to be 7, but he's only written 5 and he's like 80.
Yeah,
So
no, and
it's not
who was it? Nerdrotic? Do you watch him on YouTube? Nerdrotic. Oh, you'd like him. He's really good. And he was having a video compiling over the last 10 years, however long it's been since book 5 came out. It's been progressively getting more and more. It was like, oh, be patient, be patient. Now he's like angry at fans and condemning them, and it's the progression of where it was like, oh, just be patient, everybody, it's coming, to now where he's actually all but said like, yeah, this book's probably never actually coming out.
yeah. You want to hear my theory on that? Like, can I realize this isn't a Song of Ice and Fire podcast, but my theory
Go
is that
nuts.
he wrote the books and he wrote what he thought the ending would be. Like he charted it out. The show did a bad job of like actually landing a plane. I didn't watch the show, but I've read enough to know that it landed the plane poorly. So my theory on that is that he had to rework his ending and he doesn't know how to do it because he's set all the like foreshadowing all these things for it to end this way. So my thought is that he's actually going to end it the same as the show ended and all that stuff, and it's already written, but he won't release it till he dies because
Mm,
he's kind of an arrogant jerk. And so like I kind of look at George R. R. Martin as like I think he's that prideful that he's like he just doesn't want to hear the feedback. So I actually think he'll release it post like being like pass it on like posthumously, I guess would be the way.
posthumously, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think he'll release it then so that he doesn't have to deal with any of the pushback negativity because he's that kind of guy. So
Yeah.
that's my theory because I'm still holding out hope of like you put your whole life into this and you're not going to finish it. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
But that has nothing to do with James Islington because he's
Yeah.
actually going to finish the series, Lord
I
willing.
mean, he's already working on book 3. He's hoping to be, I think, like more than half done by the end of the year. Yeah, he's plugging away at it, which is great. I'm
Which
so
which
happy.
probably means we get it either like late 2026 or early 2027. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't remember when the first one came out, but it was 2023, now 2025. I don't know when in 2023 it was released, but I mean, if he's working at that kind of a pace and he's not like Sanderson, who's also a professor and runs a company and goes and speaks at all these conferences and writes like 6 other books at the same time. Like he's just sitting down and writing this book, which is really cool. Like he's invested to the series, and I uh I mean, we all appreciate that. So, okay. Well, we've been going for a while. I don't even know how long, but that's fine. Listeners, hopefully you found this enjoyable. I mean, this was us just purely ranting and raving about a book that we just truly do love. We are very excited. We hope that this was helpful. We hope that this was enjoyable. We hope that you read the book. If you got all this way and you have not read the book, like shame on you. Hopefully by now, if you have gotten here, you have read it and you have enjoyed it. Leave a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know if you plan on reading book 2. I'm sure if you're this far in, you are. So we look forward to, I think we're probably going to do an episode maybe a couple weeks after, I'd like to do that where we can talk about the book and go full on spoilers. We actually were in talks last spring with we were talking with James Islington's publisher or his assistant and said that to reach out, he might be able to come on. So everybody share this. Let's get it out in front of him. And
That'd be
she had
amazing.
said to contact him. So we're actually going to do that to see if we can maybe get James himself on, because I think it would be really fascinating to hear just from one of the he's doing one of the things that we say we want to see, is that just be a Christian, just doing things really well. It doesn't have to be allegorical to Jesus, or it doesn't have to be, find the gospel in this story. It's just a Christian guy writing a really good book, and it's like fantastic and it's great. And so I would love to just get his thoughts on
Yeah, be great.
what is that like? What's that like? Like talk to us about. I would love to hear his like process. Like what when I listened to a really good interview with not James Abercrombie, what Joe Abercrombie, and he was going through and talking about his writing process and how he does things. I was like, man, this is fascinating. And like, it makes you appreciate reading more. And when you realize like all the things they're intentionally doing and how they're doing it in their own style. Anyways, I think it would be great. So share this far and wide, listeners. We would love to be able to have him on. So we'll keep everybody updated on that. But Chris, thank you again for
A
joining us.
pleasure.
This is always fun. I mean, you're our resident book expert, so anytime we want to talk about a book, you'll be our guy. So we thank you for that. And everybody, just make sure to go and listen to Chris's other podcast stuff, Rebel Podcast, and his new football podcast, which he does with our brother Luke Thompson, where, from my understanding, I've listened to a little bit, but I haven't listened to all of it. And from my understanding, it's largely a Bills and Lions podcast, which is fine because I appreciate both of those teams, which is good. Josh Allen's my boy. He's
He's got
he's my
beautiful
favorite.
eyes.
Oh,
Like beautiful eyes.
he's my favorite quarterback. So I don't hate that. So anyways, Chris, thank you for joining.
My
Listeners,
pleasure, my friend.
thank you for listening. And until next time, stay nerdy.